Hello, this is Steve Ramona, your host for Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. I want to thank our sponsors, Infone, and with Infone, you can place your business on everybody's cell phone, turn their business into a web app, and with a click of a button, they'll have access to you 24/7. And also Pantheon.fm. Have you ever thought about monetizing and taking your podcast to the next level? Well, Pantheon can do that. Let us show you how. Reach out to Steve Ramona, the host, at infone.co/SR1, and I will go over with you how you can make your podcast really stand out. Let's enjoy the show. Thanks again, everybody. Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. This is your host, Steve Ramona, and this is going to be an incredible guest. Please stay to the end because I'm not a smart guy, but this guy is much smarter than me. I'm not dumb either, but if you want to learn about your business in a way to help your business and help your business grow, this is the man you need to talk to and listen to. Kevin, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me today, Steve. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to your audience.
Yeah, no, you got a lot to offer. In the green room, we've talked about a lot that we want to share. Let's start with your background.
Yeah, so I'm an attorney, have been for 30 years. I live in the Chicago area, diehard Cubs fan. Hopefully they pull through in the next week. They're on a little bit of a slide right now. But yeah, I've spent my career kind of looking for different ways to open up access to legal services to businesses and individuals that might otherwise have challenges in accessing those services. Have leveraged technology heavily throughout my 30-year career. I've built about 6 startups to over $30 million a year in annual recurring revenue, and really just leveraged my experience in operating my own businesses to help other business owners kind of navigate through the many landmines that are so easy to step in as you're trying to solve complex operational challenges in highly regulated areas or otherwise challenging areas to do business.
And lawyers and technology are like oil and water, because I know a few lawyers, it's either compliance or they're just not the willing or able. And that's where you kind of help bridge that gap, right?
Yeah. So I run 2 businesses. One is called Sanguine Strategic Advisors. It's an advisory firm. It's an alternative model advisory firm in that I don't charge business owners any money for my services. I actually provide my time and advice to those business owners for free. And generally, my conversations consist of uncovering what are the most pressing challenges that those business owners are facing in their business. Simply asking, what kept you up last night? If you had one solution to any problem that you have in your business right now, what would that be? And of course, as we all know, if you have friends that are business owners, you say, what's new with business? They say, oh, I'm dealing with this headache, I'm dealing with that headache, et cetera. And it really gives me an opportunity to leverage my many years of growing businesses and facing those same types of challenges to say, hey, I faced that challenge before, and this is the way that I solved it. And very often they say, well, can you execute that solution for me? And I say, no, I'm not the guy who's going to actually turn the screwdriver, hammer the hammer. But I will be happy to find the right solutions provider for you, someone in my network that I've established a relationship with over a long period of time, because again, I face those same problems. So I'm a little bit of a matchmaker between business owners who have pressing challenges and solutions providers who really I've identified as being best in market in what they do in solving those specific challenges.
Yeah, and you said you're successful, and the background you just gave us, you are, but you have a servant's heart. And I want listeners to understand, he's doing this free. The advice is free, 10, whatever, 30 minutes, whatever you do. Keep that in mind. Give away your secrets. You're still going to make money, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's the value that you bring to other people in your interactions, a natural byproduct of that value is going to be money that comes back to you. In other words, if the focus is always around how do I make more money, you're not going to derive enjoyment from the things that you did, because you don't. the way that you generate revenue from your business is not always linear. It's not always the harder I work, the more money that I make. And so when you're working hard to provide value, well, you're always providing that value, and that gives you the sense of satisfaction. Yeah. And sometimes the money will come disproportionately relative to the value that you're providing in both directions, less or more. But if you're always focused on providing the value and the money is just kind of a natural byproduct of the good work that you're doing, the level of satisfaction that you have in what you're doing every day there's no amount of compensation that can make up for that.
I like that. And I love the idea of partnerships. This is a networking thing that people are missing that you do, that I do. And I want you to talk about that. How powerful is having these partnerships?
Yeah. So, as I said, I started a number of startups, businesses that I scaled significantly over the years. And in 2019, as I was coming out of my last startup, I had some time to really think about what I wanted my life to be. My prior businesses, I'd come up with a great idea about how to expand legal services or some other legal technology play, or some business that just came up with an idea. And I've always had somewhat of a knack of figuring out how to build businesses in order to monetize on that entrepreneurial idea. The problem is that I'd start the business, and then a year into the business, all of a sudden, it'd be successful. I'd be looking back and saying, what the heck did I do to my life? Because I wasn't thoughtful and purposeful about designing a business that lent itself to personal happiness, right? And then a year in, you built this machine, and you can't just turn the machine off, right? So in 2019, when I was starting this business, I tried to be very thoughtful about what I wanted my next iteration to be. And so in doing that, I wanted to design some goalposts around the business. What characteristics did I want the business to have first, and then design the business around those goalposts, rather than designing the business and then figuring out how to fit my life into it. And so some of the things I thought about was, well, what did I like and what did I not like about the prior businesses? Well, I didn't like the idea of having like 450 employees reporting up to me, because that made every problem in the business my problem. So I didn't want that. I didn't want to have a bunch of business partners that I had to share decision-making authority with, but then had to live with the product of their bad judgment. I didn't want to have concentration on my revenue in just a few clients, where I felt beholden to those clients because I needed the income in order to drive my business. So a lot of diversification. I wanted to be mobile. I wanted to have flexibility in the number of hours of work per day that I dedicated to actually providing those services. I wanted to create residual recurring revenue streams, almost like insurance, right? Where I can continue to provide services. Now, I like the idea of mentoring people. I like that. I enjoy doing that. But I didn't want to provide a traditional consulting model, because a traditional consulting model involves charging a certain dollar amount every single month for providing a certain consulting service. And when you're providing that consulting service, it's the value that you provide is not linear every single day, right? The value goes up, may go up and down. Some months you provide a lot of work and you generate very little measurable value. Other months you provide little work and you provide $1 million worth of measurable value. And I didn't want to have to reprove the value, the monetary value of the services every single month. I wanted to be able to provide the services without going back and reselling the value of the services. And then finally, as we know, in a traditional consulting model, what ends up happening is, if I could get 5 or 6 clients to pay me $5,000 a month or $10,000 a month to do consulting services for them, but then I have to work 50, 60 hours a month in order to provide those services. And the second I stop providing those services, guess what? My revenue goes away, my income goes away. Yep. So considering all of those goalposts, right, that I put in place first, then I sought to develop a business model that actually facilitated that. And in particular, I had 3 kind of epiphanies along the way. The first one was that the most valuable thing that I had built over my 25 years of running businesses was my personal and professional network. But I was giving it away for free. I wasn't doing anything to monetize on the value that I built. And the way that I view it is that my network is an asset, right? It's almost like a piece of property that I've invested in building over many years, just like a house, right? Every time you add someone to your network, you're adding an addition, right? And if you're giving it away for free, then you're giving away your largest asset for free.
Yeah.
Almost like a piece of intellectual property. Would you take your intellectual property and give everybody a royalty-free license forever to use your intellectual property? No. And your personal network, like all of us have, is kind of like that, right? It's something you've built. It's what I call relationship or reputational capital, right? Mm-hmm. The next thing I realized is that the biggest challenge that most business owners have is vendor selection. As we all start our businesses, there's probably what we call 5 or 10 different table stakes, products, services, software that we all need in order to power our business, just to turn the lights on. And we each receive probably 10 or 15 solicitations a day for each one of these 10 different types of table stakes, products, services, softwares. And so what happens for most business owners is either A, they have so many solicitations that they're like deer in the headlights. They have decision paralysis. They're so afraid to make a mistake in picking the wrong vendor because we don't really get any training on how to select the right partners to work with in our business. We get a lot of training on how to be a lawyer or a doctor or an architect, but not a lot of training on how to pick the right partner. And so we're either paralyzed because we're afraid to make a choice, or we do make a choice and inevitably we make the wrong choice because we haven't been trained how to select the right partner. And then we have to go through this painful, iterative, time-consuming, expensive, frustrating process of unwinding that relationship and then going back out to market to shop for that offering again because it's a table stakes offering. We need it to drive our business, albeit now we have even less confidence in our ability to make the right choice because we screwed it up the first time. And then the final epiphany is I finally realized that it's just a lot more fun to solve other people's problems than my own. With that, I started Sanguine Strategic Advisors. The first thing I did is I went out to the top 50 vendors who I had gone through that painful and iterative process and finally landed on these 50 and were regularly making introductions to those solutions providers to people who came to me and say, hey, Kevin, do you have anybody who does this? Do you have a good digital marketing agency? I'm not happy with mine. Do you have one of these? Right. So I went to them and I said, look, those people I've introduced and referred to you over the years, I'm still going to do that. But now you're going to pay me for it. You know what they said? Thrilled to do it, Kevin. You've made so many great introductions. We'd love to give you an incentive to go ahead and do that more. What I realized, this is what everybody is doing in real life every single time. But they're always afraid to go to the people that they're making the referrals to and saying, hey, I'm extending my personal professional network. Would you be okay in sharing the upside? I already feel great about making the referrals to you because I know you do a great job. And that's what drives me to make the introductions because I'm providing value to people in my network. But you know what? It'd also be nice to make a little residual revenue off of making these introductions. And really, so all I did is create a business model to monetize on what we all do in real life in every day, which is basically to let the people that we're making these introductions to actually compensate us. And what it allows me to do is it subsidizes the cost of me providing advisory services to my clients. I never have to ask them to pay me. Traditional consulting models, what that ends up doing is it forces the business owner who's got this challenge already, not only to figure out how to generate a return on investment on whatever problem they're solving, but now they have to figure out how to generate a return on investment on Kevin, right? And I never want them to have to figure out how to generate a return on investment on me. So what did I do? I got the solutions providers to actually subsidize it. And the important thing to remember is you always have to avoid the perverse incentive to make an introduction purely for the purpose of making money. Remember, you want to be the person that that business owner comes back to every single time they have a problem. They say, you know what? I'm going to go ask Kevin. Last time I had a problem, he introduced me to so-and-so, and it was a great experience. I'm going to go back to him. I've got clients who've come back to me 6, 7, 8, 9 different solutions that they were looking for. I make $3,000-$4,000 a month off of that relationship. And I really don't have to, I could stop providing advisory services to them today, and next month and the month after, the month after, I'd still be getting the residual revenue.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's where I spend a lot of my time. I'll kind of pause and see if you have any questions.
No. That's exactly what I do, Kevin. And audience, I want you to hear what he just said. I've talked about it on my show. I build partnerships as well, where I'm part of some billion-dollar companies that want me to help do them, possibly giving me shares in the company when it sells. I mean, it could be hundreds of thousands, and the number doesn't matter. But what I love that you're doing, that's the new network. Yeah, there's virtual, the BNIs, the tips, and all these virtual networks, and they're great. It's a great introduction. But what you're doing is the next level of networking, is actually doing business, not talking business.
Right. I actually have to have discipline about not joining as many networking groups, because it actually, I'm like an order taker, right? I kind of jokingly say, that ever watched the movie Pulp Fiction, the wolf, you got brains in your backseat, you need someone to show you how to clean it up. I'm the guy that you call. I mean,
You're the wolf.
Yeah, I'm the wolf. Exactly.
Yep.
But that's really what it is. What I want to be known as, and I am to many of my clients at this point, is I'm the guy you come to when you've got a problem and you don't want to have to iterate through 3, 4, 5 times to find the right solution. Kevin's been there and he's done that, and he's stepped on the landmines for us. Kind of my motto, what I say to my clients is, with me, you kiss one frog to find your prince. You don't have to kiss 10, kiss one frog. You're going to get it right the first time. And the value that it gives to business owners and not having to iterate through 5, 6 different solutions before they land on the right one that is the good fit for their business. That's incredibly valuable in terms of giving your business the ability to scale.
And anybody can do this. Just being able to serve, bring value.
Everybody is doing it. Everybody is doing it every single day. Every single person sitting here, listening to this podcast, watching this podcast, they are doing the same thing I'm doing every single day. I just put a business framework around it that allows me to enjoy an residual economic benefit around bringing value to my network, which you're doing anyway. So why not monetize?
It's a win-win-win situation. Client, vendor, you. Everybody wins. And I say in the Godfather, it's an offer you can't refuse.
And talk about with a servant's heart, I get to do what I enjoy doing every single day, which is mentoring business owners and helping them to avoid the many landmines that I stepped on over the last 30 years of operating businesses. And I still step on a few landmines here and there, but so over the last 4 years, just been really enjoying the experience of being able to help businesses, and also because I'm not so deeply embedded in the business owner's business every single day, providing really deep hourly consulting services. What it allows me to do is help out a lot of different businesses at a little bit more superficial level. I mean, there's some businesses I get a little deeper than others, but it allows me to go ahead and listen intently, learn about the business, understand what the challenges are, and then identify the right solution based on my experience, which a lot of times, if you've been in businesses for years, it kind of comes a little bit second nature just because you've experienced those obstacles firsthand. And then I get to make the introduction, and guess what? I get to go on and make the next introduction. Let me tell you a little bit about the economics of it. I started business in 2019. A lot of 2019 was setting up the framework, its foundation, right? Going and getting the agreements with your solutions providers that you've already built longstanding relationships with, and they bring incredible value in terms of their solutions. Going ahead and starting to go out to LinkedIn and have conversations with people. So that first year, from scratch, zero, to about 125 in revenue just by making some introductions. And by the way, here's the economics. You make 3 to 4 introductions a day, not difficult to do. Talk to one business owner, they might have a complex issue. They have to make 3 introductions in order to cobble together a solution. You talk to 3 separate business owners, make 1 introduction each. 30 to 40% of those introductions, if you are trying to match make correctly between the problem and the solutions provider, you're doing a good job. 30 to 40% are going to turn into a business relationship between those 2 parties. You do that 3 times a day, let's say a third and turn into a relationship. Varies a lot in terms of the value, but the average value in the residual is about $150 a month. Doesn't sound like a lot, but if you do that every day, that means every day you're getting an annual raise of $1,800, $150 a month, right? Every week, you get a $9,000 raise. Every month, you get a $40,000 raise. Every year, you get a $400,000 raise, right? 2019, 125. 2020, 350. 2021, 750. Last year, 1.35. This year, 2 million. So, and it's not challenging. You're doing that passively by doing what you're doing every single day, right? And you can do it for 3 hours a day. You can do it for 10 hours a day. You just create your own adventure. You can find your own niches, find your own audience, right?
Yeah. Those are big numbers for doing something you're already doing, just asking for the affiliate or the business partnership. And you're right. I've heard 1 or 2 people tell me, no, I don't do affiliate type stuff. And that's fine, but I don't choose, like you don't, to work with them, because you're right. My 10-year network was built from all these meetings we're having. You put time, I put time in. Right. And I had to learn that last year. So I wish I met you 3 years ago, I'd be a millionaire, because I didn't pull the trigger on it.
Well, I'll leave you with this as well, is that there's 3, I've never spent a penny marketing my services, not a penny. And this is how I generate all of the introductions to my solutions providers, which again, I don't view myself as an affiliate or a channel partner, because that implies that I'm calling people trying to sell a particular product. No, all I'm trying to do is have conversations with business owners and let them tell me what it is they would buy today if I had any solution in stock. Like I like to say to people, I am the Amazon of solutions to problems, right? You come tell me what problem you have. I'll see if I've got a solution that I can provide to you.
Right.
3 ways primarily that I've built it. The first way is just I offer anybody who's got an audience of businesses. Let's say you know someone who is going out and selling health insurance or selling Insperity, PEOs, like anybody who is prospecting in businesses every day. Guess what they have? They have a one-trick pony. They got one thing to sell to the business owners that they actually get in a call with. What if you gave them the ability to ask one additional question at the end of the phone call when the HR administrator said, you know, we're not really in the market for that right now? What if you could say, well, let me ask you this. Are there any other challenges that you're experiencing in the business right now that I can help you with? And of course, that's what they're going to talk about. And then my network says, well, you know what? Let me introduce you to Kevin. He's not going to charge you anything. He's free. And he probably has a solution. I've worked with him for a long time. And then what I do is I pay those people who make those introductions 30% of my residual for the life of the relationship. So what I've done is I've created a marketing engine that basically generates a 70% gross profit margin for making the introductions, and I don't have to go out. The second way is that when people reach out to me in LinkedIn and are trying to solicit me for products, services, whatever, I actually take their calls. And I'll let them give me their pitch. And I'll tell them, wow, love your product. It's a great product. Tell me a little bit about the business. What challenges are you facing in your business? And then they start talking about it. And I say, you know what? I probably have someone that can help you with that. And because I accepted their invitation on LinkedIn, where they get 99 out of 100 no's, they feel compelled to take the introduction to whoever I'm going to introduce them to, right? It's a human sense of reciprocation, right?
Yeah.
And basically, it's almost like flipping the sale, right? It's you called me, tried to sell me a solution. Well, you just told me what your problem was, and I'm going to go ahead and introduce you to someone who's going to help you. That's the second way. And the third way is what you'll find is after you start introducing a lot of business owners, what I call seekers of solutions, to the solutions providers, all of a sudden your solutions providers are going to start coming to you and saying, hey, Steve, we've got a challenge in our business. Do you have any solutions for us? So your solutions providers will become your seekers, right? And so between my network of people who are referring folks for the residual themselves, and LinkedIn reaching out to me and taking those calls, and my solutions providers becoming seekers of solutions, I'm an order taker. I don't do any outbound prospecting trying to get people and sell them. It's really, they're just coming to me looking for solutions.
All inbound. Yeah. It's people coming to you. Hey, I've got this. Yeah. Your emails are probably blowing up. That's beautiful. And I love that. I love that. We're running out of time, but let's jump into ERC. I'm going to bring you back because we're going to talk more about it, but ERC, AI is the big buzz. I think ERC is right there, the talk of the town because of the availability of money. Give us a short cliff notes of what it is and where it's at now.
Yeah, just so in case anybody missed it, I'm an attorney. I've been practicing for 30 years, and in addition to my advisory group, I run a law firm. It's called BizHead Law, and the focus of what we do is advising business owners on the eligibility criteria for the Employee Retention Tax Credit. It's a stimulus program that was created under the CARES Act during the advent of the pandemic. It was created by Congress to, really address concerns that Congress and a lot of other folks had about what the impact of the pandemic was going to have on the economy, as well as all the government orders that were put in place to hopefully stop the spread or slow the spread of the pandemic. There's been a lot of evolution in the law around the ERC over the last couple of years. And when there's a lot of evolution of the law, there's a lot of misinformation. Different people are living during prior iterations of the law. And that can cause a lot of confusion. So, we're a law firm where we don't sell ERC. What we do is we sit with our clients and advise them regarding the eligibility criteria. And just at a very high level, you've probably heard a lot of it before, but ERC is available for a couple different groups of small businesses. So the definition of the small business is if in 2019, you are under 500 full-time employees, then you are defined as a small eligible employer and may be entitled to the Employee Retention Tax Credit. There are a couple different tests that were created under the law as amended several times since then. The first one is what we call the revenue reduction test. What it required is in 2020 versus the same quarter in 2019, you had a 50% decline in top line revenue in order to qualify. In 2021, you needed only a 20% decline in top line revenue in the quarter versus the same quarter in 2019. So 2019, that's always the base year because that's the last year when things were normal. And you're comparing revenue in the same quarter in 2020 and or 2021 to determine whether or not you're eligible. So that was one test. It's called the revenue reduction test. In the plain language of the statute, there was a second test. Congress said, or if as a result of government orders or mandates, your business experienced a full or partial suspension of operations that affected more than a nominal portion of your operations, then you also qualify for the credit. Now, as you can tell, the first test is a very objective test. It's black and white. Either you had a significant decline as defined under the statute, or you did not. Very, very objective, very black and white. There is no gray there. Whereas the second test is a much more subjective test, and it's based upon the facts and circumstances as they existed within your business and asks not what the size of the impact was, in other words, not how big of a drop in top line revenue, but what portion of your operations experienced any type of an impact. And what it is it's a specific acknowledgement by Congress and the IRS that not every detrimental impact to a business can be measured purely on a drop in top line revenue. There's lots of other detrimental impacts to businesses that are not measured by a drop in top line revenue. I will give you just an example of one hypothetical that the IRS advances in some of its guidance. So restaurants. So we all know that a lot of restaurants, a lot of our favorite restaurants in 2020 and 2021 actually had significant increases in top line revenue because individuals under the Stimulus Act were getting checks for $1,400 a piece, but because many of their favorite places to go were shut down by government order, they weren't leaving the house. So what were they doing? They were spending their $1,400 on delivery and pickup, right? However, so the test number one, the revenue reduction test, very clearly, those restaurants did not qualify because they didn't have a 20% decline in top line revenue. However, many of those same restaurants were subject to government orders, which either ordered a closure of their dining rooms or limited the capacity, the number of individuals that could be seated in their dining rooms. Now, if you look at the same quarter, let's say Q2 of 2021 versus Q2 of 2019, more than 10% of that restaurant's revenues in the second quarter of 2019 were derived from in-restaurant service. More than 10% of the employee service hours of that restaurant were devoted to providing in-restaurant service. Therefore, a government order in 2021 partially suspending in-restaurant service would be deemed to have impacted more than a nominal portion of the operations. So again, we're not looking for how big of a drop in revenue there was between 2019 and 2021, like test number one. We're looking at what portion of the overall operational activities in 2019 were subjected to a government order limiting them in 2021. And so there is a lot of subjectivity. A lot of the eligibility around it really requires proper documentation of government orders. You can't just say, oh, there was a government order in place and therefore I'm qualified. You have to do it right. There is some fraud out there. The IRS has publicized that there's been a lot of fraud. I'm sure there are solutions providers, service providers that are not doing it properly. It's important to work with a lawyer, in my opinion. Make sure the lawyer has more practice insurance, make sure that they are properly documenting with you the operational impacts that you experienced as a result of those government orders. And it can be a significant economic benefit to a small business.
Yeah, it could be a game changer. That's well said. We'll delve into that our next show. Let's do a shout out. We'll come to the end of the show, but how could people reach you to get your free advice or talk to you about ERC?
Yeah. So on ERC, you can email me at kevin@bizheadlaw.com. That's bizheadlaw.com. You can also feel free to call me. My number is 312-899-6175. 312-899-6175.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little tax credit myself. So the first 5 people, listeners, that reach out to Kevin and mention this show, I'm giving you a $20 Amazon gift card. Amazon's big. You can figure it out. Give it to a friend. I don't care what you do with it, but I want to give you a reward. I want to motivate you to reach out because these 2 things he mentioned today could change your life.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, Steve, I'm objective. I'm not here to sell ERC. I will very objectively explain the law so that you as a business owner can assess whether or not it is appropriate for you to claim the ERC, and I will transparently discuss the benefits and risks associated with moving forward with the claim.
Why not, listeners? It's just a 15, 30-minute conversation. He's willing to do it. Leverage that and see if you're available. If you're not, move on and away we go. So with that being said, thank you for being on. You're so smart, and I love your partnerships because I'm doing the same thing. And we actually are partnering up with ERC. So I know I'm going to brought you some referrals, and I brought you referrals as well. So I love that. So we're living what he talked about. But what's one tip you can leave my audience that can help them in their journey?
Yeah, I would say make yourself available to others. Life has a funny way of coming back to you, I'm a big believer in karma. And if you can try in a very intentional and purposeful way in every conversation you have with someone to impart some type of value, not just lip service, but genuinely try and bring them some value, whether it's an introduction or actually doing something for them, just however small. I think that it just makes your enjoyment of what you do every day that much more. So.